Nature, like racing, is raw. You must be aware of your environment as you are surrounded by energy. You must learn to harness it, store it, and release it. Then you can achieve anything.
Hello and welcome to Extreme E, coming to you from Scotland for the Hydro X Prix. I'm Katie Osborne, and alongside me is Andrew Coley.
Thanks, Katie. This is a sport with a purpose which puts the climate at its heart and focuses on the amazing solutions out there. So what better place to race than an old disused coal mine, which is in the process of being turned into a hydropower plant.
And Coley, taking on this terrain, it will be fully electric SUVs, which over the last few seasons have battled the glaciers of Greenland, the Chilean Atacama Desert, and most recently, the shores of Saudi Arabia's Red Sea.
Yeah, the paddock is packed with 20 of the world's best off-road drivers, and as a championship pushing the boundaries of motorsport, the teams are made up of one female and one male driver who will compete together to secure those all-important championship points.
Now, our drivers are not just here to race, but they're also here to help the plight of the planet, and at each race location, we'll see a different legacy project set out to help the local communities and issues affecting that region. So, Coley, let's see where our championship is taking us in Season 3.
Well, we started the season down in Saudi Arabia, rounds 1 and 2, on the shores of the Red Sea. Neom, sand and rocks. The winner of round 1 was Veloce Racing, and the winner of round 2 was Acciona Sainz, and they're tied at the top of the championship table.
Moving all the way around to Scotland. Now, this is where we are this weekend. Dumfries and Galloway. We're seeing mud, we're seeing rocks, and Coley, we're seeing a lot of fog. That's kicking off here this weekend, all weekend long.
Yeah, Hydro X Prix in Scotland. Then it's down into the Mediterranean to Sardinia, where this series has been in both the previous seasons. It's a very rough track on the cars. Wildfires are the theme in Sardinia. That is in July.
Oh, where are we going to be going around the globe? The good news is, the sky's the limit. The world is the limit. And TBC on this is going to be in September, and I cannot wait to see where the series takes us.
Yeah, looking forward to another fantastic venue. And then, of course, we finish off the year in Chile. Antofagasta, rock and gravel. It's the Copper X Prix. We've been there before, and we saw some brilliant racing.
It turned out to be a lovely day in Scotland in the beautiful countryside and the extreme conditions of this unused coal mine. Now, Coley, this is one of those places, the Hydro X Prix it's landed, it's here, and we are ready to rock and roll.
Yeah, I think it's possibly our best venue from an environmental standpoint. We're actually racing in what's going to be flooded for this incredible power station. So they'll pump the water up to the top lake when there's spare electricity, and when we need a bit more, they'll use the water and gravity to come back down and make electricity. I want to go having a look. I'm into it. But before they flood it, we're going to go racing around it. We're going to show you some of the action from free practice. So this was when the drivers were getting their heads around the course. We were due to have Q1 this morning, but Q1 was actually cancelled due to heavy fog up in Scotland. So we didn't have a Q1 session. So this is a look back at yesterday, some of the action from Friday as the drivers got their first look at this course.
Yeah, getting a first look, it was also a first time behind that wheel, and really that's what's needed on a course like this. There are so many different elements here. We have gravel as we see it being kicked up. We have mud. We have dirt. We actually have dust even. And this is one of those tracks that Coley, I think, is really going to test the driver, test the car, test the teams, and really make the true champ come out alive.
Yeah, definitely. This first section here on the run down, you see there's puddles across the circuit. There was deep water down here after Sector 2. That's been moved out of the way. Some of the gravel is cleaning up, and that gets you down to the bedrock. The grip levels change again. Say, sun's out now, maybe some dust later on. There you go. Look at it, and it's so steep. That's one of the things we really noticed is it's so steep. We think there's going to be a number of different places to use the Enoa Hyperdrive, maybe some tactics in the Continental Traction Challenge. There's a lot going on out there. A few passing places later in the lap.
That's right, and I think that the big question is where are the passing options for these kinds of drivers? You have Fraser McConnell out here getting just comfortable on the track. Him being from Jamaica, he's one of those guys that this is a very different terrain than what he's used to running on. When we have some other off-road, we saw Chip Ganassi out there, the racing team earlier, and RJ Anderson, he's someone who's very comfortable in the off-road capacity. So how is that skill going to translate to a track like this?
Yeah, I think drivers with the more off-road experience you got, the better. We saw a few down flags yesterday as people tested the limits of what they and the cars could do. They, of course, don't really matter in free practice. It's penalties galore in free practice for this lot. Like we get so many emails, penalty, whatever, because you
Whether
just know that they're...
puncture, a drive shaft, whatever it might be.
They're just going for it, aren't they? So that's actually the championship car, which was out on course as well. So Chris Hoy managed to get a drive in that, the Olympic legend. Look how slippery it was as well, heading up that steep section. So, yeah, tricky conditions, and another fantastic circuit for the drivers to get their heads around.
I think the elevation changes is another component here. Coming down, that's exactly right. You see that downhill right there. That's coming into that switch zone. So it's a quick feel of, I don't want to roll, I don't want to take that risk, I have to be slowing down. It is a tough track that these drivers are learning. Yeah,
it really is. There's another one of those crests. I say it gets wider towards the end of the lap. We think we've identified a few places where you might be able to pass using the Enoa Hyperdrive. But yeah, wheel spin, look at the rocks coming up there. A lovely, fantastic, challenging course for rounds 3 and 4 this weekend from Scotland.
Remarkably different conditions from this morning, first thing, to now. We are set for qualifying 2. Qualifying 1 header was cancelled. Talk me through the mindset of that, because you were primed, ready to race, and then suddenly all that adrenaline had nowhere to go.
Yeah, you know, we were really ready this morning, you know, confident, and you just wake up and really pumped, and 5 in the morning, and then suddenly just bug, and then it's cancelled, and then just, yeah, you're just waiting. Is it going to be cancelled? Then suddenly it got cancelled, and then we just have to relax a bit and, you know, get some energy again, and now we have to get out in Q2, and then I'm going to start. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting.
And one shot as well, and you've got a new teammate for this round, Andreas Baccarat too, so you guys have got to gel fast.
Yeah, Andreas is really good, and both speaking the same language, and, you know, he's been a role model for me when I was younger. It's crazy to be here today and race with him, you know. So, yeah, I think it's going to be a good race.
Awesome. You'll be handing over to him. We'll see. Good luck. Best of luck on the start as well. It should be fierce. They will be up against Andretti Altequilat. Katie, of course, starting for that one. But we have Timmy here, primed and ready to go. One shot in qualifying, Timmy. Talk me through your approach.
Yeah, I think you've got to approach it like a semi-final. That's what it is, really. So we've got one shot at making it through to the final. You've got to be in the top half of the grid, just like any semi-final, really. So, yeah, that's the way we treat it. We haven't seen the track today, and the track's been changing a lot, so that's going to be interesting. You know, is there a lot of grip? Is there no grip? How did the watering overnight affect the grip and the mud? So when this track gets muddy, it gets extremely slippery. So that's what we've got to watch out for. But the track is awesome. It's got very nice flow. Really excited to get going now.
And Katie, off the start as well, the traction challenge will be important, won't it, looking at the points?
Yeah, only if you're third. So between the two who are third, it will be the one with the fastest super sector. But yeah, I guess the goal will be to finish higher than that, so we can have a calm race, but you never know. So we've got all the scenarios planned out, and we know to push if we're in that third position in Sector 2. But it's always hard because you're not free. Like, you're racing and you have a car in front, so making a good time like you would be on your own is not really easy. So yeah, but that's still the job we've got to do, and that's the race that we have on our hands, so we'll see how it goes.
We shall see indeed. Thank you very much, Timmy. Best of luck.
Thank you.
Great to hear about the action out on track to come, but of course we've also got some of our fantastic eco initiatives. Hydrogen, we're using green hydrogen source to fuel a hydrogen fuel cell, one of the green sources of energy powering the main paddock and the production areas.
And another is solar. New flexible and lightweight solar panels allows us to power the event site with free sun energy into our battery systems.
Yeah, clever stuff. Batteries and wind turbines down there as well, doing everything we can to make sure that the event is fully self-sustainable.
Well, we did see a quick look at what this track is all about in free practice, but here's that one big picture overview. Coley, this is a track that has so much dimension, as we're talking about, so much elevation and so much terrain change.
Yeah, it does. I think the start's going to be critical. We know that it's a little bit narrow after the start through the Continental Traction Challenge. Then there's a couple of opportunities in that yellow section of the track where the bonus championship points are up for grabs. It's also the tiebreaker for whether you make the cut or not, so it's important to get extra speed through there. We might see people using the Inoa Hyperdrive.
And as this is a track that we have never been to before, they've also thrown in a few Scottish words in there, if you will. You saw crag, you see that as a rocky hill. The knock, which is a hill, a pasture. And that's really important to know because there is some of these different, there's terrain changes, but we also have a wet area, you have pasture areas.
We've got grass and mud, we've got gravel, we've got some water down in the, they run down to the second turn. So yeah, there are tricky conditions. The weather has played its part already with the fog cancelling Q1. We might even see some rain for tomorrow, so I think it's going to be a fantastic track. Now, if you're new to all of this, this is how Extreme E works.
Extreme E is a fully electric off-road racing championship consisting of 10 world-class teams made up of 1 male and 1 female driver. In each session, both drivers will compete behind the wheel of the Odyssey 21 electric SUV, with a driver changeover known as the switch halfway through. Each driver gets an Inoa Hyperdrive boost in every session, and there are bonus points for the fastest team through the Continental Traction Challenge section of the course. First up, it's qualifying, where everybody races twice in a bid to finish as high as possible in the qualifying standings. Then it's time to earn some championship points. From qualifying, the bottom 5 teams go into the redemption race, while the top 5 proceed to the grand final and compete to win the Prix and lift the trophy. It's a season-long battle. 10 rounds, 1 champion.
Attention all teams, this is race control. Stand by for the start of the Hydro X Prix. Qualifying round 2, heat 1 is about to begin. Energize your systems and prepare to race.
Pressure's on then. Q1 was cancelled. Everything is on Q2. I think you see a bit of tension and Andreas Backwood's face there in the command centre.
It is amazing to be able to read body language.
Well, Timmy too, they've not been out on track. They were expecting, of course, to start Q1, and the start order is going the way it would have done if Q1 had happened.
That's right. We see X44 with Cristina Gutierrez in the seat. Then we have JBXE next to her with Heda Hosas next to her. Andretti Akalat is in in the middle there, and that's actually going to be Katie Munnings, followed by Laia Sainz and Chip Ganassi racing with Amanda Sorensen as you see them lining up from the rear. You know, Coley, one of the things that we had talked about was the fact this is a push-button start, and these people, it's not releasing the clutch at this point.
Yeah, very tricky, isn't it, for all these drivers having not been out on track this morning. There is Cristina Gutierrez. Got to get Sendy down to turn 1, haven't you? They're going to want to win the whole shot. We haven't seen a single multi-car start. None of these drivers have any idea how this is going to go. Got a few VIPs down there on site. Here we go then. Q2, race 1, about to get underway. X44 on the inside. Is that going to be the better line, or might it be one of the outside cars and get the cutback as we've seen in the past? A lot of wheel spin from X44 on the inside. Tons of dust coming up from Sorensen on the outside already. A big squeeze. Maybe going to get contact down here. It's Gutierrez on the inside line. Laia Sainz trying to come around. Sorensen's got a great run. Amanda Sorensen going to try and go through the water around the exits of turn 1. But it's X44 who gets through into the whole shot. We've got a car going slowly at the back as well. Don't know whether or not there's an issue there. Oh, look at the rear getting kicked up as well. Speed through there is way higher than it was yesterday, but it is Gutierrez who leads as they come up to that first left-hander and into the Continental Traction Challenge.
Well, and we heard from trackside that there is a potential for a little bit of dust, and we are seeing that dust. How expected was that? That is an unexpected.
Yeah, it is. There's a lot more than we thought down here. Look, a change of surface again onto this rougher gravel. into the right-hander. So this is the first time we're seeing multiple cars on track, so you guys are learning this as we're learning it as well. We've heard from some of the drivers saying they reckon the second half of the lap there is potential to pass, but only if you're close.
And remember, this Continental Traction Challenge, this segment right here is so important and crucial for the third place team for each of these qualifying rounds. That's what's going to put them into the final.
Yeah, absolutely, Katie. So normally we take points from both Q1 and Q2. You add those up together, and then when the teams have got their top 10, the cut-off point is between car 5 and car 6. Now, of course, with only one qualifying session, there will be 2 cars on the same points. The third place finisher from each of these races, and that will mean that their position is decided by who is the quicker. With both drivers, remember as well, is anybody going to save that Innova Hyperdrive to try and if you're in P3, that's what you want to do, but you can't predict that early in the race. You'll have wanted to use it off the start.
Well, here's the other thing. We know that Gutierrez is out in front, but we've heard for the rest of the 4 that are below that we don't know where the passing zones are. This is the lap right here to really understand where people can pass, where that hyperdrive comes into play, and why it's important.
Laya Sands making an approach here on Sorensen. Sorensen went a little bit defensive on the brakes down into this left-hander. You're coming around to the end of the first lap. Look how steep that incline is down.
Oh, man.
Gutierrez going to brake and pitch into the left-hander. She's on it. She's absolutely on a mission. It is super close, though. Munnings, look at the back of these three as well. Look at the mud on Munnings' car. She'll have had really bad visibility, and it was Hozos who was out the back of the pack after turn 1, Katie.
Yeah, this is one of those things where they're now dealing with the terrain, they're dealing with the elements, and now they're dealing with the dust, and I think that's where it kind of takes this series next level for these drivers who are unfamiliar with how this track actually races until right now.
Sure are. That was, I say, our first look at turn 1. Now, Gutierrez made it work for X44. She's, of course, the reigning champion. Won the series last year with Sebastian Loeb on that inside line, just held tight to it, and no one managed to get through. I don't think the exit is as wide or as long as it was in Saudi, so that cutback out of turn 1 to try and get the run on the exit is not going to be quite so effective. And that big puddle as well, Katie, that we saw, that, you know, you go through water like that and it sucks the pace out of the car. And so Sorensen was alongside, but when she hit the water, she went backwards. So.
That's right, and it also changes the traction and the grip with those tires, right? So that's another thing to consider. Do we go on that line? Do these next drivers go there, hit that water, and chance having it a repercussion later? Certainly,
I would have liked to have been in the second race, because in the second race, you've got some data from the first one just to look at the start and go, right, how did it work out from the different grid slots? Sorensen is the target here in front of Laya Sands. You ride on board with Laya Sands, who is all over the back of Sorensen. P2 puts you straight through to the grand final. P3, and it all comes down to that traction challenge time.
Well, and of course, Amanda Sorensen is actually learning. She's the youngest driver in Formula Drift, the series she came from. Here, she told us all this morning that this is still a learning curve for her. She's getting in the seat, she's feeling confidence, but it is a big learning lesson. She's backed it in big time there. Look at this fight. Katie Munnings is right there as well. It's all about the fight for P2, 3 and 4 here. Oh, man, how much of a
so
redemption
close.
would it be for Katie Munnings to put this thing not only on the podium, but into the final round?
Well, yeah, she's going to want to be right there, isn't she? I think she's a bit late on the brakes up at the corner there, but she's got past Sands, so she has. Katie Munnings has managed to pass Laya Sands. I thought she was late. Just the camera broke up a little bit as she came in hot. Munnings makes the pass and puts them into P3. So for Andretti Autokila, that is a fantastic move by Katie Munnings right at the end of her run. They come in now to the switch zone, and they'll drop into their bays, and the other drivers take over. That's put Timmy Hansen in a really good position, but they need one more place to guarantee a slot in the final. Oh,
here we go, take another look at the onboard here. Wow!
Oh, look.
Take it, that is something that was unexpected from a visibility standpoint. Coley, I don't know what I would do in that moment, but of course, that's a situation.
You got to keep it pinned. You just got to keep it there.
Is that what happens?
Yeah, that's what you have to do.
This is why I'm not a racing driver. But you take a look at the determination, the ability to hold on to the wheel right now. She's fighting it, but it does look like there was a little bit of control within.
The number of inputs as well. Hey, let's listen in. Okay, so it's good at the end. So Timmy Hansen plugs in his communications. There is Matthias Ekstrom. Ekstrom going to be chasing down Hansen, remember. So Ekstrom in now for Acciona Science, going to be chasing Timmy Hansen. At the back of the pack there, released is RJ Anderson. But remember, it's 45 seconds. They were in the first switch zone.
And that's something to, if you're just joining us for on Extreme for the first... Oh, is there an issue with...
Just got out in front. So that's how they came in, if you remember. Munnings had just made the pass. So they're bang on 45 seconds each, and they just managed to slot out in order again.
Which is good, if you're if you're Timmy Hansen.
So Backerud here has some work to do on his first run out for JBXE. Has come in with a significant gap to close down out front. but it is all about, remember, the top two are guaranteed to make it to the grand final. Third place is all about Continental Traction Challenge. You've got to be in P3 to stand a hope, Katie. P4 or 5, you're definitely not making it.
I wonder what's going on in Bakkerud's mind. We saw the tension in his face before. Now he's happened to be, he did the switch, and now he's in the driver's seat. And I'm wondering, is that a guy who right now is saying, hey, look, I'm in the car, I'm just getting a feel for it? Or is the pursuit for what they're putting out for JBXE, is the pursuit to kind of make up some time?
I think he's got to try. It's his first chance competing in the car. He'd be disappointed not to be in the mix, and he would have liked 2 qualifying sessions. Down at the front, Fraser McConnell leading. Watch this kick up here at the rear of the car. It was actually more pronounced on the first run through. So you're looking at RJ Anderson in P2 from McConnell. These two drivers, that's Ekstrom on board. So Ekstrom is chasing Hansen. Hansen should be right in front of him. The gap between them should be very little indeed. There's Timmy Hansen. Where's Ekstrom? How far back is it? Further back than I thought. So Hansen's managed to gap Ekstrom just a tiny little bit.
Well, you're talking about different champs here, right? And Ekstrom knows what it takes. This is a rally track. We know that this is a track that's going to be good and comfortable for those who have been in different terrains, and Ekstrom is one of those guys who might have a little advantage on Timmy. He's
one of the best all-rounders in the world, he really is. But Timmy Hansen, when he first started in the World Rallycross Championship back in 2014, he'd come from circuit racing, and definitely it was the gravel was more of a challenge for him. Not anymore. You know, he's right up there. But Ekstrom certainly has. He's done the Dakar this year. He's been doing. He did the Sonora Rally, didn't he, recently? Yep. In a side-by-side. So he's got a lot more time in off-road, but Timmy Hansen actually has more time in these cars, because remember, Ekstrom took a season out and he's come back in.
I want to go ahead and take a look back at Fraser McConnell, who is blowing everybody out of the water, off of the mine, if you will, here. Fraser McConnell looking extremely comfortable in the car. Of course, was set up very nicely by Christina for that switch, but this is one of those times that right now they are trying to make an impression. They are 4th in standings right now in championship, and it's so important to get these extra points. It is on board with him now as he comes down this slope. Watch this downhill. Look how steep it is. You can't even see your trajectory as you come over the crest. He'll brake and pitch into the left-hander. This is where saw Gutierrez was so quick. He's got 1 lap to go, and he has a gap of 6.2 seconds. So behind them, look, the tightest gap is between P3, Timmy Hansen, for Andretti Altequila, 2 wheels. That was going to be my question to you, Coley. Is that flat out and then brake immediately? But does that risk then a potential flip? I think there's plenty of place around here where we could see people rolling over. You're not going to want to risk that now, especially not with a double-header weekend. This is a one-shot qualifying session. Interesting. So this is for the Continental Traction Challenge. McConnell has saved his Innova hyperdrive to use in the uphill section. I reckon Hansen will use it in there as well, because he must get that cut-off point. So Timmy Hansen in P3, unless Ekstrom passes him, and there it is. He's used it in there as well. So this is tactical from Andretti Altequila. Hansen needs to get a very good time in here to try and put them ahead of whoever finishes P3 in the next qualifying race. There's so much strategy to this, and I think it's something where it's not these cars are just racing. There is little bits and pieces, especially with the change in the format today, that these teams are really, the strategists are working hard today. And Ekstrom and Anderson there used it later in the Traction Challenge, Katie. So the Continental Traction Challenge is all uphill. Timmy Hansen and Fraser McConnell both used it in the lower section of it, and then we saw Ekstrom and RJ Anderson using it in the upper section of it. And that's for what reason? Just a different part of the course. So tactically, the teams have looked at it and gone, we reckon the second part of the Continental Traction Challenge, you'll get more of a boost. It's a 4-second boost. You can only use it in one hit. They've just looked at the lap times and tried to figure it out. McConnell up to that road crossing section, flicks it in. This is where you've seen some of the ruts develop. Looking super relaxed in the car. His mum and dad are out there. Stephanie and Peter have come all the way over from Jamaica. They're another one who's staying in a castle and having a great time. But you know, earlier we thought this land was going to be different for Fraser because he comes from Jamaica, and he actually said, "I wake up in fog. We live out on the farm." I was surprised to hear that about him earlier. I think McConnell's on the run down the hill. He is, looking at our graphics there. So Fraser McConnell and Christina Gutierrez going to go through to the grand final for X44. That's a brilliant drive by them. P2, Chip Ganassi Racing, Sorensen and Anderson making the cut. And P3, Munnings and Hansen. They will have to wait and find out if they get a good time in the Continental Traction Challenge. Thanks. So we're going to head down to the command centre and have a catch-up with Christina Gutierrez. Christina, what a brilliant start by you. Well done. I mean, getting the whole shot into turn 1 looks really important here.
Yeah, it was a very nice start. I very focused on the start because I knew the importance of have a good start. but finally we take the first position. I tried to take also a good time in the super sector and traction challenge, and we tried to do our best, and finally we finished first. This is nice because we go to the final and we can fight for everything.
Fight for everything, Christina. Congratulations to you and Fraz for that. More importantly, the track itself looks like it's getting challenging. It's running up, it's dirty, it's dusty. Big picture, what is the biggest challenge on this track?
Yeah, the biggest challenge maybe is the conditions, because all the time is changing, and yesterday it was totally different, the first day was different, today was different, so the most important thing I think is to adapt as much as possible our driving style in the moment that we are racing, so it's double challenge. So I think it's the most important to be clever and not make mistakes, because one mistake makes a lot of difference.
Christina, congratulations. Absolutely brilliant drive by you both. Well done. We look forward to seeing you in the final later.
Well, it's time now for the results of Q2 race number 1 with Hosas and Bakarud in last, unfortunately in 5th if you were. We have Sans and Ekstrom in 4th. Katie Munnings and Timmy Hansen coming in 3rd. Amanda Sorensen and RJ Anderson in 2nd. A great race for them. But the big winners in that was Gutierrez and McConnell. They're taking home the win. That was an extremely important win for both of them, as they were saying as we were talking to Christina. And realistically, we know that it's coming back to that Continental Traction Compound Challenge for that 3rd place to figure out what happens for the rest of the day.
Well, here's a look at some of the tech down in the paddock, the Chargers. Clever stuff, isn't it? Really is. It's our 3rd season, of course, of Extreme E. Kicked this one off in Neom in Saudi Arabia. Double header of racing there. We've had a new idea in the background. You might have seen this on social media already. But XE Unfiltered, Extreme E Unfiltered, basically various bits of footage taken by people on their phones during the course of the weekend to try and give you guys a little bit of a look at things behind the scenes.
That is. So it's Friday, and we're here in the Explorer Lounge. Just got done with free practice 1, and in between free practice 2, we've got Amanda practicing on force. I'm not sure this is going to relate to our actual time on the course, but hey, getting ready for free practice 2, one way or another.
That's the start. All the cars. That's turn 1. And we're just checking who takes which line.
We're doing proper rallycross style here.
More important, 2 kilometers longer, but on the right spot. We need to come a little bit 1 meter back inside. Yeah. Then outside, in, out, yeah. And here, in.
It's 6:30 a.m. Early morning, first race day. Super pumped.
Good morning. First race day of season 3 is here. It's a very busy paddock.
It's Saturday morning and the first race of Extreme E 2023.
Let's go!
Let's go. Let's go. 3, 2, 1. And through the camera 1.
Oh, into the water! Oh my God, absolute carnage. There's Alatia on his side.
Unbelievable.
136-second penalty for car 6. Slow zone speeding, gone on the gas too early, and that's going to hand the win then to Molly Taylor and Kevin Hansen for Veloce.
Woo! Winners of day 1 here, or race 1 of the season. What a great way to start the year.
Good morning, race day number 2 here at the Desert X Prix. Another stunning day in Saudi. We've got to give a huge shout out to the mechanics who have spent the night working so hard.
The guys did a super good job. It was a huge work to change everything. We had just time to go to the hotel, take a shower, and come back here at 7 o'clock. So that was a big challenge.
Nasser Alatia comes across, a little bit of contact with Elias Sands, but this is a brilliant result for At Cupra, and they're going to book themselves a spot in the final.
Well done, well done, well done, well done, well done, well done. Very well done. Good job, Clara.
Yesterday they were P2, but today they're going to go one better. Elias Sands is going to come down and jump over the finish line. Acciona Science win their first ever Extreme E race here at Neom in Saudi Arabia.
It's safe to say, well done, well done, well done. That was so cool to see the unfiltered. One big standout to me was Fraser McConnell and his jump roping there out in the paddock. That is so cool. Coming from Jamaica, age 24, as you can see, this guy, this man is out for some gusto.
Yeah, he's a brilliant driver, isn't he? Made his way up through the ranks of Rallycross and has finally got an opportunity in Extreme E as well.
And as we know, Coley, legacy is an important part of Extreme E's drive to make a difference in the climate conversation. The Science Committee, comprised of leading figures and specialists from the world of science, are here to help us understand the big issues affecting each and every one of these race locations.
Well, the sun is shining on the Extreme E paddock here at the Hydro X Prix in Scotland, and I have to say, it's a paddock with one of the best views I think I've ever seen in motorsport. Professor Lucy Woodall joins me now, very much agreeing with that as well. Of course, she's part of the Extreme E Science Committee and principal scientist for Necton as well. Lucy, every area we head to has a bigger impact, has a bigger challenge facing it. What are the challenges here?
Yeah, absolutely right. The climate crisis is impacting the entirety of the globe. But we see those impacts really differently depending on where we are. Here in Scotland, it's really about those wetter, warmer winters. So at the Legacy project, with looking at the rivers trying to really think about keeping them cooler and keeping them more protected. So we're going to do this by really understanding the rivers themselves, using the amazing technology from Vodafone Business and their sensors, providing that real-time information for the amazing NGOs working in the area. And also today we've been planting trees to stabilise the soil, but also to provide shade, fencing to remove the pressures from all of the wildlife in the area, so that the salmon, which is such an iconic species for here in Scotland, are able to come back, spawn successfully, and then really create that river that is great for future generations.
It's all about the future, isn't it? How important is this legacy looking ahead?
Yeah, it's really important. You know, we think of trees as that view into the future. We're doing this not for us now, but actually for the future generations. So actually having the school children involved in planting those trees, been measuring the fish, really understanding what is in their own waters and contributing to what they want to see for the future is incredibly important. And as we drive past in the future in our EVs, then we can see those wonderful woods that we've helped create.
Oh, amazing stuff. The Legacy Days looked incredible as well. Thank you very much to you, Lucy, and all the hard work you do.
No problem, my pleasure.
Attention all teams, this is race control. Stand by for the start of the Hydro X Prix. Qualifying round 2, heat 2, is about to begin. Energize your systems and prepare to race.
Well, it's qualifying to heat 2, as we just heard. You can see we use the word tension. I think the command center just brings tensions to people's faces and body languages, huh?
You know what? We designed it that way, didn't we? Basically, they're all facing each other.
To us, and we're not there.
We would say awkward, wouldn't we? It's awk space. You're putting your competitors in the same room. You're trying to out-psych them a little bit. You're looking at your screens. You've got your tactics in mind. There's Emma Gilroy. She's looking happy.
Chill.
Yeah, Emma's chill. We've got a bit of a mix on the starting order here. Last time it was all female drivers followed by all male drivers. This time we've got Timo Scheider and Tanner Fauster starting with the 3 female drivers. So tactics-wise, that'll change things a little bit in the second half of the race. Remember, that Continental Traction Challenge is absolutely crucial. Whoever comes third needs a quicker time than Andretti or Tequilit in the first race.
Well, and of course, as we look at the starting lineup here, we have Rosberg X Racing there, followed by, as you mentioned, Timo Scheider with Carl Cox Racing, followed by Clara Anderson as she's rocking and rolling there in for the Abt Cupra. And you mentioned Tanner Faust, another of the males in there from McLaren, and we're rounding out that grid with Molly Taylor and for Valache Racing.
So who's going to get the best start this time? Last time out we saw X44 had it from the inside line. Tanner Faust won't be blinking now with 8 seconds to go. There's Molly Taylor on board. Wipers are on for some of these cars already. Decent start on the inside. I think somebody's used their hyperdrive off the line. They have. It's Alatia's used, Anderson's used the hyperdrive off the line, but it hasn't worked out. She's ended up down in 4th. Arlen Kotlinski with a whole shot. Now we see this roost up over the top of Tanner Faust. So Faust and Scheider, I think it is, are at the back of the pack. There's a little bit of side-by-side going on through that narrow section. Down the end, contact and a roll! Absolutely huge crash! I think it's Anderson. I think it's Anderson for Cupra. It's a big old crash. Hard to tell in the distance there, but I think that might well be a red flag. You're looking at Tanner Faust coming up over the top of the crest here. This is Arlen Kotlinski leading for RXR. The car is off the course, so maybe not. It's a yellow flag in that sector.
And that's exactly where we were talking about, Coley, the dangers of this, where it's extreme. It's narrow. There is bound to be something because they were all pushing, and you mentioned using that hyperdrive.
Red flag. It is a red flag. So we're going to stop this one.
Are you sweating yet? That got me going.
Yeah,
Are you awake now?
Yeah, we're awake now.
We just hope the driver's okay. That was a big roll. That was up on the top, on the lid, and
it was launched. There we are. That's Clara Anderson sitting in the car. She looks okay but shaken. She'll be very disappointed. There'll be a lot of damage on that car. It rolled, if you remember, at the last event with Nasser Al-Attiyah, rolled over the top of Tanner Faust down in Saudi Arabia. She's sitting still in the car, so she's maybe just getting her breath back and just bracing herself, and we have our rescue crew down there ASAP. So our #1 priority is the safety and well-being of Clara Anderson, and as soon as we have an update on that, we will bring it to you. So the car's rolling back now, so they'll have instructions from race control. Sometimes they have to stop on course. The instance happened in a place where they can bring the cars back to the pre-grid. Nasser Al-Attiyah.
Yeah, her teammate there looking on. You can see that there's a look of concern there, a look of, I mean, body language again says it all. That's frustration, but it's also, hey, is she okay? We're about to...
Yeah, she's fine. She's climbing out the car. They've asked her if she's okay, and she's climbing. That's the first thing.
Yep.
Great stuff, and the Odyssey 21 again standing up well to a big impact. Now, it was quite a long shot. There was a lot of dirt on the car, so you'll have to bear with us. We're doing our best in terms of IDing the cars down there in the bottom of the quarry. Here's a look at it again. So Anderson is in the middle of the grid. She used her Innova hyperdrive. I heard it.
Yep.
But
you called it.
Yeah, we get like a bonging noise. Then it appeared on the graphic, but it didn't work out. So she's now at the back. It's Carl Cox Motorsport here with Timo Scheider.
So
I thought it was Scheider at the back, and it wasn't. It's Veloce with their new paint job, which is black and red. So it was Scheider who was in P2. Look, she's alongside, and I think she gets sucked into the hay bales, Katie.
You think that was it? I wasn't sure if there was a little bump and rub there. Yep, the hay bale is back there in the back is Donzo.
I think there's contact as well between them, but I think if you get pulled into the bales like that, and she just got launched. Okay, let's take a look back at some more detailed replays of that incident, which has seen the Cupra rolled out of contention. So you're on board here with Clara Anderson. She reaches down, makes an adjustment. Listening to this. Listen to some of the noises. Impacts first of all, then the muddy screen. Now listening to when we actually get to the shunt. It's quite hard to see, but listening.
And we're listening. We're not even the one in the car. Can you imagine what Claire is thinking?
Look at the impact. The first is that, well, both those impacts are huge, and hats off to the Odyssey 21 designers. She takes a deep breath. To be honest, I don't think she's fine, but I don't think she knows where she is on the course at that point with all the mud on the side of the car. This is Veloce, so this is Molly Taylor. Now listen to this. This gravel rash for a start, and then listen in here. Transmission, drive shaft, suspension.
There's definitely a problem with the car. And I think this is one of those moments where only someone from the team like Kevin Hansen that you can answer. We heard something that sounded a bit like a transmission. That car seems to be in a condition that may not be drivable. From your point of view, what's your take?
Yeah, I mean, Molly did everything she could in that start, really putting off a nice outside move. And then I think we just had some contact with the McLaren. I'm not sure from all the angles how it looked like, but I think we had it with them, and I think it ripped out the toe link. So.
All right, then the big question is will you be at the start?
I don't think I will. I have race control in my ears also, but yeah, sorry. I think we have too much damage to race again. But we just have to get ready for the next race and do our best. It's obviously a shame to have been so quick on practice yesterday, and to have such an energized car with Eon this weekend. It's really a shame that we are out already at the first corner. So we'll do our best in the race.
All right, a shame indeed. Kevin Hansen, the rest of the Veloce team, a very disappointing start to the round here in Scotland. Having a better understand where the Veloce stands, it's time now to go down to the grid with Laura Winter, who is standing by with Clara.
Thank you very much. First and foremost, Clara, you're okay. You're standing next to me. There's somewhat of a smile on your face, which is brilliant to see. Just talk me through what happened.
Yeah, so we had a clear plan. I was going to save the hyper boost. It is quite a hard race that we were in. And do the undercut, do the hyper boost out of waypoint 1. Did it. Was on my way to pass, then squeeze into the hay bales, no room, and then I got flying. So, yeah.
The onboard is pretty savage. How are you feeling? How frustrated are you?
Oh, I'm very frustrated. It's no room. I was just a passenger. We followed the plan. I did exactly what we said to do, but if there's no room, there's no way for me to go.
All right, thanks, Clara. Better luck next time. Most importantly, glad you're okay.
Okay, restart then, Q2, race 2. They're going to set the 3 remaining cars off at the intervals that they had when they came in. So you're going to see Arlen Kotlinski head off for RXR. Very shortly afterwards will be Timo Scheider for Carl Cox Racing, and then Tanner Faust for Neon McLaren. There is Michaela looking at the lights. It's a special start sequence which will release them via their car number. You see the red light on the left, yeah. Green, there she goes. Scheider was immediately behind, and then Tanner.
So this is an important part, Coley. This is really where we need to take consideration. Is Tanner, his goal to catch up to Timo, or is his goal to lay back, give enough space, and then put down a really great Continental Traction Challenge time so that it really sets McLaren up to potentially get into the finals?
It's difficult, isn't it? If you go top 2, you don't need that Continental Traction Challenge time. And now he's right there. So Faust uses his hyperdrive immediately. So he's used it in this section. That will gain him time on the back of Scheider. He doesn't want to get compromised in this sector. Remember, these guys are only going to do 1 lap.
That's right.
And then they're going to hand over to their counterparts who will do 2. So Kristoffersson will take over for Arlen Kotlinski. And Christine GZ will jump in for Carl Cox Motorsport, and Emma Gilmore for Neon McLaren XE. So we've got a benchmark time for Andretti. Remember, Andretti out of Keelit were in the first race. They got 3rd. Their time is 56.873. That's Munnings and Hansen together. Whoever is in 3rd in this race must beat that time if they want to make it into the final.
And that's because of the Continental Traction Challenge is what's going to set that
it's the
final
countback.
spot.
It's effectively the countback.
I'm surprised that Tanner is running as up close to them as he is. And especially because there's dust now. And we knew this was going to be an issue.
He's had his crack at the Traction Challenge. Now he's having a crack at Scheider, and he wants Gilmore to be as close as possible to Christine GZ in the hopes that Emma can make the pass if he can't. Arlen Kotlinski coming up the hill. This is where he saw Katie Munnings make the pass, if you remember, in that first race. Arlen Kotlinski's under a bit of pressure here from Timo Scheider. Now Scheider uses his Noah hyperdrive, so he's going to try and make a pass on the grass section. Coming in pretty hot behind Arlen Kotlinski, but not quite close enough. Not near enough, certainly, to stick it up the inside. He's having another look. And we should see them coming into the switch zone. Watch at the bottom here to see if anybody tries to make a pass.
And this is important to watch right here as Timo is doing what he can, right? But here's, if you don't brake right away, there's a potential for that flip. And then you have to slow down immediately. That is a tough call, but he did make up a little ground, you can see. And I want to talk about the strategy that was used. GZ and Emma Gilmore are going up against the males now, but because of what happened, it's only 1 male. So it actually kind of backfired in a strategy standpoint. They were 2 against 1.
Kristoffersson here, look, let's be honest about it, and Gilmore and Christine GZ would understand this. He's a 5-time World Rallycross champion. So, yeah, my money's on him to pull away.
Oh, absolutely, at that point, from an experience standpoint.
So this is a race for P2 for me, unless there's a problem for RXR in the switch here between McLaren and Carl Cox Racing.
The difference...
Is the McLaren far enough into the bay? If it isn't, they could get a penalty for that. It's borderline, but I think it will be okay. Pointed out nicely by Tanner Faust to give Emma Gilmore a better exit.
It was almost like he was being polite.
Yeah, he parked
it
it
might have been a
nicely.
penalty, but he was at least being polite in the way.
So when they go, watch Gilmour now. She's looking for that 45-second clock. She puts the car in drive. The Carl Cox Motorsport machine should move now, and if they don't go, they're going to get overlapped already. So,
interesting.
They're side by side.
Close.
So this is going to be really close. RXR get out in front where we would expect, but it is side by side. They're going to come around to the left. Okay, so Carl Cox Motorsport will maintain their... And 58, that is the Neil McLaren machine, is under investigation for a switch zone infringement. So
Does
now,
polite always pay, guys? I don't know.
thing is, that might not matter, because if they get given a penalty and remain in third, it doesn't matter,
But
because third is where they need to be. But it's all about the traction challenge, because they're probably not going to beat Carl Cox Motorsport with a penalty.
Coley, the person who has all of the pressure on them right now is GZ. That woman right now knows that not only is she having to maintain second, but she also has to lay down a fast sector there to make sure that that team is in a good position to go up against Andretti's.
Right, so GZ's used the hyperdrive there. That was in defence. I think they were thinking potentially that McLaren would try and pass things. We identified that, didn't we, yesterday as maybe a passing spot, and Gilmour hasn't used it. So Gilmour, I think, will save it and use it in the Continental Traction Challenge. Watch this.
And maybe lay out just enough to give herself so she has clean visibility, because I think that Dusty can actually play
you don't want to catch up. You don't want to back off. She wants to fly through this whole section. Christopherson looks on a mission for RXR. Wait and see whether or not Gilmour uses that in Noah Hyperdrive. You'll hear the noise and you'll see the graphic will light up if she uses it in that sector. So what's the gap now? Christopherson is already 4.6 up the road. Christopherson uses it on the exits there. He thinks, like we saw some of the other drivers did, I think it was Ekstrom that used it. Remember how wily those two are on the uphill section out the jump. Is Gilmour not going to use it in this section? If not, then McLaren are banking on the pass, but I don't think that's the call, because they're guaranteed third place and they're under investigation. We're getting a decision here on it, and we've got a 5-second time penalty for 58. So they are definitely not going to get past Carl Cox Motorsport.
So at that point, does she play it safe?
No, they should have gone for the traction challenge. That was their banker, was to beat the time of Hansen and Mullings. If they haven't done that, then the Andretti Autokilic will go through and McLaren will be down in the redemption race.
But she still has one more lap to get that.
P2. She could get P2. I suppose, maybe she goes on the second lap.
She has a second lap to be able to use that. Thank you.
There, yes. Okay, where are they at the minute? Yes, so at the minute, look, Andretti are fourth in the Continental Traction Challenge. Neil McLaren, 2.2. So they've got to find...
really have to push that.
Yeah, she's going to have to send it big time.
But in sending it, she does have one more lap. And of course, this is where if it were me in the car, I'm not calling any shots and I'm not in the car, and that's a really good reason. But I would lay back if you really have to put that last lap together.
But if Emma can pass GZ, it's a done deal. She doesn't need the traction challenge.
True.
I think.
But there's still a 5-second penalty to be added.
Of course, so she'd have to be 5 seconds up the road.
That's what I need.
So I think for me that because they had space on the first lap, when GZ used the hyperdrive out of the switch zone, Neil McLaren, Emma Gilmour had a gap in front of her, and if I were the team, I would have got on the radio, and she's going to try and pass her anyway. I would have got on the radio and said, you know, go for the traction challenge. Now she's going to be behind GZ in here, and third place won't be enough if she can't go. She needs to not take 1.4 seconds off that sector time to match the time of Andretti Autokilic. So there's a lot going on here. With only 3 cars in the race, you think it's not that complicated. Now Gilmour goes.
And she did it on the turn, going into the Continental Traction Challenge area.
According to our graphics, she's moved up. We're on board and we can't see it, and she has. So Gilmour, I saw the graphics move up. She's made the pass. Right, so now if she wants to absolutely guarantee it, she needs a 5-second gap. Keep pushing. They're on the radio to Emma saying, that's good, Emma, keep pushing, you need a 5-second penalty. Come on, Emma, let's go. I love this.
Let's make a good race, yes.
I love this.
And what's so fun is it's not a race of what's on track right now. It is now a race for what has been.
Yeah, so now we're looking at the timing screens. We need to keep you posted on what that gap is. The interval at the minute is 2.3 seconds. On board with Gilmour. We were on board with her when she passed. She can't see, look, the screen, so the wipers not doing what she wants them to do. That gap's gone up to 3.1. She just needs another 1.9 seconds, and she's going to put Neil McLaren through to the final.
Andretti Autokilic right now, I'm sure, is looking on, and we talk about tension. We talk about...
Check up for those flags. Keep pushing on those flags. Keep pushing. Don't need to check up for them.
So Tanner's saying no checking up, keep it lit through here. So he's coaching on the radio. This is how the teammates work together to make sure that they get the extra time that they need to. Neil McLaren didn't make the final at either of the last ones. Johan Kristoffersen coming down the hill. This is an easy win for RXR, so they're going to go through to the grand final. He pitches the car in, and it will depend where they sit on the grid according to, of course, grid play later. But in the background's what we need to see. Where are the cars in the background? Where are the cars in the background? Here she is, Gilmore coming up over the crest at the top. I think GZ's close enough at the minute. She needed a 5-second gap, and it's not going to be enough, so it's going to come down to the Continental Traction Challenge. Emma Gilmore does take P2, but the gap is going to be under 5. It's 3.2 as they cross the line.
5-second penalty. We have unfortunately finished P3. Just get to the stop sign. They will direct you to come straight back up the switch zone area. And then drive directly to the car wash, please. Drive directly to the car wash.
Right, that's the radio from McLaren, but the times on the screen tell you what you need to know. Unfortunately, P3 is not going to be enough because Andretti Altequila have the faster time than Neil McLaren in the Traction Challenge. So we're going to head down to the Vodafone Command Centre and have a catch-up with Tanner Faust from Neil McLaren Extreme E. Tanner, unlucky, mate. Like you were so close coming into that switch zone. What was the infringement in the switch zone? And I guess you're pretty disappointed. Sorry, mate.
Yeah, no, it's a real bummer, and it's my fault on this one. And I just in the last part of the lap, the mud kicked up. I'm pushing the wiper button and just couldn't get the windscreen clean, so kind of came in blind on the bumper. And apparently a corner of our bumper was poking out of the box still once we had stopped. And so that's 5 seconds. I haven't seen it. I never saw really the edge of the box there, but I feel gutted because Emma did a big pass there and not an easy track to pass on. So, you know, it makes for a longer day for us, but we'll keep pushing.
Thanks, Tanner. Best of luck for the rest of the day, mate. Well, that was a fairly wild ride for qualifying, considering we only had one session. Coming down to the wire with those results.
Well, of course, we see the qualifying Heat 2 results. You have a DNF. And a DNF, again, for Valache, as we know. McLaren, they pushed so hard. Emma Gilmore there at the end got that pass on GZ for Carl Cox Motorsport, but they still got in second. And, of course, RXR taking home the win. Christopherson finishing off that race. Just easy peasy for him.
Yeah, he was nicely out in front, wasn't he? So unfortunate for McLaren just to pick up that penalty in the switch zone. The nose of Faust's car sticking slightly too far out.
That resulted in that 5-second penalty. And, of course, as Tanner said, he took ownership of it, but
yeah,
he couldn't see either.
And Emma made the pass. So, anyway, these are the standings at the end of qualifying. No points for Q1 because that session was cancelled, remember, and then it's 10 for a race win. So, X44 and RXR have a race win each. When you have teams on equal points, their position is decided by the Continental Traction Challenge. So at the minute, X44 are fastest in that. And the really important one, of course, is P5 and P6. Andretti Altequila had the better time in that Traction Challenge, so they beat Neon McLaren XE into the grand final.
It has already been an exciting and interesting Hydro X Prix. Some would say not so good, others really on a high.
Yeah, I think certainly X44 would be happy, wouldn't they, with that start. Look at this puddle on the outside line. See, it just sucks the pace out the car and drops Chip Ganassi Racing back.
Look at that leaking
we didn't see that, did we? So we didn't...
Saudi again, girls getting wet out there.
Yeah, but like mud this time. There's a big difference between a nice bath in the Red Sea, isn't there, and a bit of Scottish mud coming in through the vent on the roof.
That's right. Of course, here's where the switch is happening. A really smooth, swift switch for Fraser McConnell and Christina Gutierrez. She set that car up real nice for him, and he just took off.
Yeah, they were flying as well. I think they're still at the top of the Continental Traction Challenge times now. So they've really been flying.
Yeah, and you can see it right there that it's really, I mean, he looks comfortable in the seat, but the car's picking up that gravel and just comfortable out there. The two have been a great pair here. They're sitting fourth in the championship points coming into this weekend, and it's such a prime time for them to make their mark.
Yeah, they are still top of those Continental Traction Challenge standings at the minute. That would be an extra 2 points. Now, a team that is working incredibly hard in the paddock as we speak is Abt Cooper. Look at Clara Anderson. She tries to get past Timo Scheider, and boom. 1, 2 times over, but the second one she really got launched, and that car got bigger. Look, 1, 2. That one is a vertical roll, and the hit, Katie, was massive.
The hit was massive. She was okay.
Oh.
But it was sound that was just...
Well, we understand they're repairing that car, meaning the cage wasn't damaged, which I'm really surprised about. This was the restart of the next of that qualifying race with just the 3 cars in it, with the gaps as they were. Tanner Fowles at the back of the pack. We were wondering would McLaren just drop back and just try to nail on the traction challenge section and then go through by virtue of the tiebreaker for being in P3. But they didn't. You know, Fowles came in and unfortunately just that tiny infringement in the switch zone.
Yeah, he really, you know, it was the visibility issue. He owned it. Emma Gilmore got in there. Here you see it just slightly turned out, and that was not what he wanted to have happen. And of course, here the RXR just swift, smooth, getting in that switch and sending Johan out there sailing. But this is where they lined up. Emma Gilmore and GZ, they knew that there was a battle on their hand as they were getting ready to go out. And here's that battle.
Yeah, we were on board for this. We never actually saw the pass. Gilmore using, oh, she ran it on the bank on the inside. That was a really brave move by Gilmore. Nicely done.
We did. We heard Tanner call it, saying it was a great pass. She did it. And unfortunately, their little penalty was just one of those things that was just a disappointment for McLaren. But this is just part of the day here at Hydro X Prix. Many more actions to come.
My name is Peter Wadhams, and I'm an emeritus professor of polar marine science at Cambridge University. That's in the Department of Applied Maths and Theoretical Physics, a place where Stephen Hawking used to hang out. I remember being taught at school always that the climate never changed and that all the fluctuations you saw were weather. And I was concerned with oceanography rather than any other part of the climate because I really loved the sea. My family had all been sailors and ship's engineers. I wanted to join the Merchant Navy and go and see the world. Unfortunately, I was declared to be too bright to go to sea, but I managed to find a sneaky way out, becoming an oceanographer, so I could study science, be a physicist, but at the same time go to sea. When the Navy started sending submarines to the Arctic in the 1960s, they wanted to have scientists on board to study what the ice was doing by sailing underneath it with a submarine and look upwards with acoustic methods and measure the profile of the bottom of the ice with an echo sounder. I really loved initially going on a submarine and it was very, very uncomfortable, of course. You sleep in a torpedo tube, but there was nobody else doing it, so it was really a way of pioneering measurement of ice thickness from below. The first discovery, actually, of the thinning of the Arctic ice was my work from 2 successive submarine voyages where the thickness went down by about 15% between 2 voyages that were 3 or 4 years apart. From 71 till 2007, we showed that the thickness had gone down by about 40%. Nearly half the ice had disappeared, and that's the situation at the moment. The milestone, I think, is going to be a summer in which the Arctic's completely ice-free. That's really a major problem and one of the main questions being studied now in climate science. I was the founder member of the science committee on Extreme E. There's always been a mixture of excitement and a sense of responsibility towards the future. Suddenly people are realising how important climate change is to one's daily life, in fact to the future of the planet. Extreme E is really brilliant at getting hold of good scientists from different places that inspired with this idea of doing science along with racing in an ecologically viable way. I hope the rest of the world might work on it a bit more seriously.
Such a joy to see Peter Wadham's passion. Speaking of passion, there's so much passion in this Extreme E series.
Yeah, looking forward to Grand Final and Redemption race coming up. Kristoffersen, Arlen, Lindsay, McConnell, Gutierrez, Scheider, GZ, Anderson, Sorensen, Hansen and Munnings for their 5 teams in that Grand Final. None of those teams have had a win this year. Both our previous winners, look, Veloce and Sainz are down in the Redemption race.
Yeah, it's a really interesting thing to see how this is going to be pulled together. Anything surprise you?
Yeah, the fact that 2 previous winners haven't made it, but I think that just shows how close it is. We knew it was close in Saudi Arabia. It's proving close again here. Maybe a little bit trickier here to pass than it was there, but we've seen passes in place on the track we just didn't think we would. So going to be absolutely fantastic action from those two finals coming up. Looking forward to this. Who's going to win round 3? We are in Scotland for round 3 of Extreme E 2023, the redemption race in the final coming up. My name's Andrew Coley. Joining me on commentary is Katie Osborne, standing in for Jenny Gow, who's actually up on site with Laura Winter. So Jenny, sending you your best in your recovery. Look forward to having you back here. Katie, having a good time?
Understatement. Glad to be here. As sport, this is built for purpose. Each of Extreme E's race locations are chosen carefully based on the story on the climate change that they tell.
Yeah, whether it's racing by Greenland's melting glaciers or on Senegal's beaches, which are being affected by rising sea levels, the championship is hoping not only to show the issues facing these regions, but also the solutions out there.
Here in Scotland, the race site's backdrop is particularly poignant as the drivers are racing in an old disused open cast coal mine, which is in the process of being turned into a hydropower plant. What a thrill.
We're here in Scotland, racing with Extreme E this week, symbolically at the site of an old open-cast coal mine, which is now being converted into a hydroelectric pump storage scheme. Scotland has an abundance of renewable energy sources that it uses to create carbon-free power. But the difficulty with renewables is that they're intermittent. The sun might not be shining for the solar panels, wind might not be blowing for the wind turbines, and it's difficult then to balance the needs. A key problem with renewables then is the issue of storage and how you go about storing huge amounts of energy. When the wind blows too much or too hard, that power can't be transported to the grid. It makes sense then to store that energy if you can, and that's very difficult to do. Renewables have looked into all sorts of ways of doing this through batteries, and hydro is a key solution to that problem. Effectively, this entire site can be used as an energy storage system. The way the storage system works is that in periods of excess wind, where that excess energy can't be delivered to the grid, you can use that power to move the water from a lower lake to a higher lake. And then in periods of demand, when the wind might not be blowing, for instance, you can let that water down and it comes down a pipe and spins through a generator to make electricity. Once completed, the scheme will power 289,000 homes. Getting off the fossil fuel carbon treadmill is essential to combat climate change. Rolling out renewables at the pace that Scotland has sets an example to the rest of the world. The sector has grown more than 4 times since 2010. What's required is a change of mindset, political will, and the technology to get cracking with it. It's a great opportunity for Extreme E to be here to showcase this transition from old technology to the new future. And while this is symbolic of the transition that we need to make, it's brilliant that it's actually going to be producing electricity to so many homes through the UK. It's the sort of thing that we need to do more and more of, the opportunities that we need to take in the transition from the carbon economy into the new world.
Veloce, McLaren, JBXC and Acciona Science all in the redemption race. Abt Cupra should be there. But after that big roll for Clara Anderson in our qualifying race earlier on, as you can see, simply too much damage to the car, and they'll be in a race against time now to get it ready ahead of course, round 4 of the Hydro XP tomorrow. Emma Gilmore, though, is racing. Sorry to see. Let's have a little walk through the paddock here. Talk me through the balance between pushing for P2 and also going for that Conti Traction Challenge, and how much you were aware of both in the car.
I was aware that we had a penalty and I needed to make up some time, but visibility was really, really difficult. So the washer wasn't working very well on the wipers, and couldn't see a great deal. So it made it pretty challenging. So it was still good fun though. It was cool getting the past on Christina. So but disappointing to not be in the final.
The redemption race again for you guys. What's your approach to that one?
We'll be doing the best. We have got the opposite strategy to everyone at the moment, so I'll be taking the start there. So, yeah, we'll see what happens this afternoon.
Yeah, and the start's important, isn't it? Thank you very much, Emma. Hard luck this morning. Best of luck in the redemption race. Well, we had two first-time winners last time out in Saudi, Acciona Sainz and Veloce. Now both, of course, in the redemption race. And Kevin joins me now. Redemption race it is for you, Kevin. How's the car doing, first of all, after that qualifying race in which we saw it break?
Yeah, you know, we got some great mechanics, so it's going to be absolutely fine. I think we had a toe link break with the contact with McLaren, which is just purely race incident. So just really a shame. Molly did a really great turn one, and yeah, I've not gotten many laps today. So it would be really nice to get out for that redemption race and properly make a redemption, because we were so fast yesterday, and this Eon Veloci crew really deserves a good result.
And so fast last time out in Saudi as well. So a win in the redemption race will at least keep you up in the points in the championship standing.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we just try to go out on track and do our best every time. And the redemption race is going to be a tough one. I think, not sure if App's going to get back out, but then we're going to be 4, and it makes a bit more room on the grid. So hopefully we can have a nice race. Molly's, incredibly fast, and we'll try to work on everything we had from yesterday to try to squeeze out a little bit more performance now when we have some extra time. And no, I'm really looking forward to this afternoon.
Great stuff. Looking forward to seeing you out there. Thank you, Kevin. Good luck.
Well, that's the Veloce machine rolling out to the grid. So they're ready. Look at that. Quick check of the wheels. We're all happy. Good to go.
Is that something that surprises you? That one seemed to be in decent shape. It's
yeah, that was like
one.
that was one drop link on one toe link on the suspension. That's not a big repair. The big repairs go. Oh, that's a lot of tape. So NASA's ready. Oh, is that consolation, or are they sending him out?
I don't know. There's a lot of pit pats here. What does this mean?
Oh, I don't think they're going to make it, Jenny. I don't think they're going to make it.
That's disappointing. Oh.
Attention all teams, this is race control. Stand by for the start of the Hydro X Prix. The redemption race is about to begin. Energize your systems and prepare to race.
Okay, well, App Cupra are not there in the command centre, so we saw the pictures of them a minute ago. Got so excited I called Katie. Jenny, sorry, mate.
Jenny, we're thinking of you, obviously.
Yeah, you're the one who's jet lagged. Thinking of you, Jenny. Katie is jet lagged, and I'm the one getting the names wrong. But yeah, so there. I'm gutted for the team. So much work to try and get it done. Not going to be there. So Emma Gilmore in the McLaren, Matthias Ekström, Acciona Sainz, Andreas Backerud for JBXE, and Kevin Hansen for Veloce. App Cupra missing from the outside of the grid.
This is still expected to be a really great race, and at that point it's almost go time. All right, it's almost time, as it is lights out, if you will, to get going green. A decent roundup of all 4. Who's going to make it into the turn 1? And is it going to be the outside? No, it is not going to be. It is going to be a combination between, and we hit a little bit of a puddle, and that puddle is what makes this track extremely slippery. And Acciona Sainz takes the lead, and with that, Matthias Ekström is off.
Yeah, Ekström did a great job there, didn't he? Kevin Hansen tried to come around the outside in that repair Veloce, and Casey, we saw him hit the same puddle that we saw earlier on, and it just pulls all the pace out of the car. He's still right there with him. Emma, I thought, might get to turn 1 first on the inside line, but just not quite enough off the line to get down there, and backwards at the back of these 4.
Well, and we know that Acciona Sainz has had an opportunity to be both in the final before, and this is their first redemption, whereas McLaren, they've won a redemption round at this point.
Yeah, they've not made it through to the final. The Acciona Sainz have had a win, well, in fact, yeah, our top 2 here were our 2 winners, our 2 championship leaders coming to Scotland. As we were alluding to just before this race, it's so close this year, but there's also no way to progress. Last year with the crazy race, if you won the crazy race, you progressed to the final. You don't now, and so your fortunes are pretty black and white.
It looks like one went a little bit wide there. We went a little off-roading there with that Gilmore.
So I wonder if Andreas Backerud in the background looks to have some sort of a problem to me. That car's crabbing all over the road, so whether there's an issue for the JBXE machine or not. There he is, he's still going, but he was very sideways in the back of the picture, and we wouldn't expect Backrud to be this far off either.
No, and I think for those who are just joining us, Andreas Backrud took the seat here this week, and for JBXE, and he's in for the rest of the season. And he's no stranger to what all of this is, but not expected to be that far back either.
Look at the dip that's formed at the top of the ramp there. So Matthias Ekström coming down the slope. He's on it, and leaning on it behind him is Kevin Hansen. Kevin Hansen, for me, was up on 2 wheels in turn 1. Here comes Emma Gilmore. Now, Gilmore, of course, has got to stay in touch and put Tanner Faust in with a chance then of trying to chase down the likes of Laia Sands and Molly Taylor. But Sands and Taylor are super quick as well. The pace of the female drivers has really come on in the last couple of seasons. There was a release that went out from the series recently about the increase in pace on the female side. It's been 25%, I think it was, which is incredible. And that's where they're working super hard with their teammates just to nail down every single detail.
And I do like how drivers, both male and female, can get into either one of the mixes. You know, that's a really cool thing. We just saw a whole lot of dust that just popped up. That is an extremely difficult follow, not necessarily here in the gravel section, but in that sand section, in that dirt section, it's kicking up, and that's going to make it extremely, right here, you see it there. That visibility is the issue, and exactly why Emma Gilmore said earlier that she couldn't see what she was doing there.
No, really struggling. I think that's the bit in the background that I thought Backrud was sideways, and I actually think it's the exit of these sections here on the long shot from the drone. Ekström is really showing his class here. Been a DTM champion, of course. He won the World Rallycross Championship back in 2016. Recently, he's a factory Audi driver in the Dakar Rally. He's been racing side by side. I mean, this guy is a brilliant all-rounder. He's gapping Kevin Hansen, not by much, just a little bit. Kevin's actually taken a couple of tenths back off him in that last sector, but it's going to be very close, and Molly Taylor will fancy her chances of coming back at Laia Sands, but Sands has been as quick as science. Look at this on board. Look at Kevin as well, gritting his teeth, trying as hard as he can to close that gap back down.
Well, he knows what he's up against, right? He knows who Matthias is. He understands what
that's a big rivalry.
And right, this goes way back from a rallycross standpoint as well. Now we're coming down that downhill into the switch zone, and as you can see, they're kind of lining up, getting ready. And this is a big moment too. They want this clean. They want this precise. Precision is a key.
Here we go. So for Laia Sands now, imagine being in her shoes and just there. You're nervous, you're about to get in, you're leading, but you know the lead's not much. She knows Molly Taylor will be a fierce rival. The Veloce squad are able to start their switch early because they're in a switch bay further back, and you'll see now as the cars exit, Veloce will exit slightly early because they stopped slightly early, but the 45 seconds they have to look how clean the Acciona Science machine is in terms of visibility, got the whole shot, all those little things add up.
And let's not forget that this redemption round is not just a, hey, I won the redemption round, it's about points. And coming into this weekend, Veloce Racing and Acciona Science were 46 points, both of them. So whichever one of these two teams come out on top, this is an important thing to keep in mind.
McLaren's a long way into the switch bay there, isn't it? That's after, of course, the infringement earlier on. Tanner Faust jumping in. There's a lot of steering lock on. So look at that. Molly Taylor is ready to go already, and I don't think Faust is belted in yet. I think McLaren have had a problem here, although they were a little way back, weren't they, thinking about it? They were a little way back.
But Molly Taylor and Laia Sands are going out together, and that's that battle that we're following closely here.
Yeah, they were some 15 seconds back, so Faust has got some work to do if he wants to get up to these two. What could play into his hands is if these two get into a fight, Katie, and they start, driving on the mirrors or looking for looks up the inside, they could lose time, whereas Tanner's going to be out in the open. He's got Hedor Hozos right behind him, but I think Tanner will just get his eyes down on the two cars in front, see if he can chase them down, nick a few more points.
And at that point, too, get some good time speed through that Continental Traction Challenge. That's a really important point, too.
Yeah, I'm looking at that at the minute. It's... as they go off the line. So we know a hyperdrive there immediately for Molly Taylor. Laia Sands not using it. Taylor trying to look up the inside line. We thought that they might. Remember, Katie, when we watched yesterday, we looked at the recce laps and we said, I bet someone will use it out of the switch zone, and there it was. Yep. Nearly close enough, but the gap was, what, 3 seconds? I reckon if it's less than 3, the Anoa hyperdrive could get you the pass there. Look at the visibility difference, though, on board.
Well, and we remember that some of these drivers have now experienced that quals. They've all had. They know where that hyperdrive is really going to work and where it's not.
Laia Sands' attitude in this car is exceptional. She's working with Carlos Sainz for the 2 previous seasons. comes from a bike background. She's a legend on a bike, like an untold number of world titles in trials. I was watching some stuff of hers recently, and you know, can ride big time. But adjusting to a car is not easy. A lot of weight, the way that weight transfers is completely different from a bike. You know, a bike's so physical, you move your body so much, and this is different. And with a car with a lot of suspension travel, it's a different skill to learn. But to me, look at the way she's chucking it around, looking so comfortable.
She does look comfortable. From 2 wheels to 4 wheels in a roll cage, I'll tell you, it is neat to see her behind the wheel of this car. Now, of course, Molly Taylor trying close behind to get a hold of them. Valachi wants this win. We knew they were fast in practice. They took both of the practice charts yesterday, and with their issue today, it was a big disappointment because the championship points are what they're after. You can see Tanner Faust right now. He looks pretty calm behind the wheel right now. He doesn't have any visibility issues, or he shouldn't at this point in time, and you wonder about putting down a real fast lap.
Yeah, he's not eating into that gap at the minute. It's up to 18.9, and that, you know, as I say, Sands and Taylor. Taylor, remember, was season 1 champion with Johan Kristoffersson, so we know Molly is super quick. But it's impressive to me to see the way Laia Sands is now holding her off. Like she can't get close enough to try to make a move on Laia Sands. And that's a mark of how much Sands has improved in the 2 seasons.
Yeah, it's really impressive. I wonder what Carlos Sainz is saying as he's watching on. We know he's at the race. He's cheering on his team. We know that Mateus drove for him. I'd be curious to see what his take is. There's the man. There's the legend.
And look at Ekstrom. Look how physical it was out there. We're talking Scotland. It's not the desert. That gives you an idea of how physical these cars are to drive. You're bracing yourself in the seat. Every impact that comes back up through you, all the inputs into the wheel, Ekstrom sweating it out, and he'll be hoping that Sands can bring this home. Not the win they were looking for, but better points all the same. They're in the championship fight. Every point counts.
Not a podium win, but a win is a win, and that builds confidence, and that takes them into tomorrow, round 4, a little bit more confident.
On the brakes down at the bottom of the hill, look at that. Through that long right-hander there, sorry, that's a little bit off camber. See the car struggling, then understeer on the exit, up and over this little jump. Okay, so now, yeah, on the exit of the Continental Traction Challenge, up the steepest hill, Laia Sands uses that extra 100 kilowatts of power.
And that's where Emma Gilmore used it actually in the qualifying rounds as well, to try and boost themselves to try to get to the finals. There she goes using the NOA Hyperdrive as well. Just trying to make up a little traction, trying to make a little something happen for McLaren.
Yeah, Tanner can't dent that lead, can he? And Hozos in the same place. So that all of the teams there have discovered that that's where they want for lap time. It's not within the Traction Challenge, it's just after those banners. So interesting tactics. They're all still finding little bits.
Well, and as we're kind of seeing, this is where a big drop downhill comes into as we are nearing the final of this redemption race. Laia Sands looking extremely comfortable there in the car. I wish I knew what she was thinking right now. This has got to be a big breath of fresh air, knowing that they came into this race weekend, tying Valachi with 46 points, coming down the downhill, making sure she keeps it all in one piece. Maybe if we go up 2 wheels, it's okay, because there it was. This is a big finish for Laia Sands and Akiana Sainz XC team. And as you can see, proudly, Matthias Ekstrom and Carlos Sainz looks on.
Yeah, great drive by them to win this one ahead. Let's not forget that it's pretty fierce competition behind them. You know, they've beaten Hansen and Taylor into P2. Faust crosses the line in P3, and Tanner in the end got a couple of seconds closer, but I say a mark of how quick they are now. It will be a confidence boost, even if it's not where they wanted to be. And as
you think
say,
so, for McLaren?
Yeah, definitely. No, for Sands. But I think just the way she held off Taylor on that last lap was brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Valachi, at this point, their car before this, it may or may not have worked. And so to get a second in redemption, they're getting those.
Okay, everybody, thank you very much from race control. Please proceed back to the paddock via the reverse direction to the switch zone. Thank you very much.
There we go then. Redemption race is done. Acciona Sainz, the winners of that one.
So we're going to talk into this headset.
On board with Tanner in the McLaren.
When you were talking about Laia, and I thought you were talking about McLaren and Tanner, I was like, he does not look happy.
No,
that is not his happy face.
Not them.
Not them.
Okay, we are going to have a chat with Carlos Sainz, who is down in the command centre, just seen his team take a brilliant win there. Carlos, Laia Sands on that second lap under enormous pressure from Molly Taylor. She was really pushing hard, and you must be super proud of the team. I know this isn't the grand final, but it's still a great result against tough competition.
Yeah, it was good. Obviously, we are not extremely happy with the result because we would have loved to be in the final, but today was really a problem with the fog. No, nobody's fault, but we could only do one month. So unfortunately, Elias has a problem with the wiper and lost one position. But at the end, she did now a great job. The same than Matthias. We are happy to score this victory in the second in the final B. And I think in the championship, it's going to be a long championship where the mistakes are going to be important, not to make many mistakes.
Making the least amount of mistakes is absolutely crucial. And the championship is, you can see, with you against Valachi, you take a step back knowing that tomorrow exists as another day. What have you guys learned that round 4 might make a little easier?
Well, tomorrow is a completely new day. I'm sure the motivation will be again very high, and we are going to push to try to make a really good second race, and hopefully we can be in the final first of all and fight for the victory like in last weekend.
Well, thank you for your time. Obviously, Coley and I are very ecstatic for what you guys put together, knowing that this is a fight for the championship each and every one of these weekends. Thanks, Carlos.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.
Great stuff. So Carlos Sainz, what a legend. Isn't it a privilege to be able to just have a quick chat with Carlos Sainz in Scotland? You know what I mean? The novelty hasn't worn off me. I was a big 90s rally fan, and Sainz is right up there on the list of heroes, so it's a pleasure for us. It is. Yeah. Great racing. He didn't look terribly disappointed. I'll say that's because they've won that race against tough competition. But to be honest with you, all these races are tough competitions, and he'll want to be in the final tomorrow. Lovely backdrop here in Scotland. One race to come from round 3, the Hydro X Prix. We've got the grand final coming up. Who's going to take that win? It's going to be somebody new this season. We've got none of the winners of the previous 2 rounds that have made it through to that grand final. So grand final coming up next, and of course that is partly decided by the grid play ceremony.
This is Grid Play, your chance watching at home to influence how the grid will look for our grand final. The leaderboard, the public votes, Veloce have topped the way with Apt Cupra just behind. The teams who've not made the final will now donate their public votes to our finalists. So first up, I'd like to invite our newbie for JBXC, Andreas Backerud. Where is the vote going? To Timo Schneider, to Carl Cox Motorsport, to Andretti Altequila. Very good, Tanner. Thank you very much. Where is the big chunk of votes going? To X44 Vida Carbon. Where is their votes going? Oh! Kevin Hansen doing the honours. Brotherly love, as ever. It goes straight to Andretti Altequila.
It's funny, isn't it, how nobody ever supports RXR. Basically that's what happens is the losing.
They know what's going to happen if they do.
Yeah, so they've all handed their votes over to other people, and you can see that it was it's Altequila, Andretti United who get the pole in the final. RXR like all the way on the outside.
The grand final here in round 3 of the Hydro X Prix is about to begin. Tension ramping up after a difficult day here. First the fog, now the blazing sunshine in the paddock. Fraser McConnell of X44 Vida Carbon joins me now. Fraz, it wasn't such a difficult race for you. Straight out there. Brilliant start for you guys. What's the mindset coming into the final?
No, really excited. Gearing up for the final. Christina did a hell of a job starting the Q2. And everyone knew that was everything on the line for Q2 to make it into the final. So, I was on the radio, go for it. And she really did awesome and gave me a nice lead. So all I had to do was manage the race and bring the car home in one piece.
Great stuff. And the final awaits. Thank you very much to you, Fraser. Best of luck. Well, RXR had a similarly simple race. Michaela Arlen-Kotlinski, what a start from you in that race to get you through into this final. Sum that one up and let's look ahead as well to what's to come.
Well, I mean, super important now with just having one heat ahead of the finals. So it was important to take the start. It was rough out there, and happy to see that all the drivers are okay after that red flag. But yeah, good start, and from there on just tried to keep the boys behind me, and then we took the win in the heat, so it feels good.
And building up to the final as well, could we see the first win for RXR this season?
That's what we're hoping for. That's the goal.
Brilliant stuff. Thank you very much indeed. Best of luck to you. And we have Timo Scheider here just chatting to Johan Kristoffersson, Carl Cox Motorsport into the final, and DJ Carl Cox here himself. Timo, a final awaits you. What's your approach?
Well, actually, first final for Carl Cox Motorsport, that sounds very good. We started the day off with a different strategy due to the fact Q1 was different. Yeah, we ended up with a mix of girls and guys against each other. With my start and the contact with Clara, which was very nasty, we had a pretty big moment in the first lap, so that was for sure quite tough. Luckily, she's okay. But after all, we made it to the final. That's the most important.
You did indeed. What do you think is possible in this final?
Well, we know extreme E is extreme. It can be chaotic. And we all know we have to send elbows out. There's no room for mistakes, of course, and we try to be focused. And we had yesterday great speed. So if we can get it to the ground, I think there's always a chance for podium.
Love it. You're always elbows out, Timo. Best of luck to you. Thank you very much. Well, this is it. It is time for the Hydro X Prix Round 3 Grand Final.
Attention all teams, this is race control. Stand by for the start of the Hydro X Prix. The grand final is about to begin. Energize your systems and prepare to race.
Well, there you go. The grand final is all set. This is where it all has come down to in Scotland. We started the day with a bit of fog, my friend Andrew Coley. We waited it out, and now it is time. You can see Timo Scheider there looking on. We just heard from him saying that this is the first time that Carl Cox Motorsport in their career they have made a final. It's big news for them. Meanwhile, some of these teams have experienced the finals for both rounds 1 and rounds 2. We have Andretti Altekilat there sitting in 5th, RJ Anderson with Ganassi Racing right beside him. Christine Jeezy hopping in there against some of these males with Carl Cox Motorsport. Fraser McConnell going up against her. They're sitting there in 2nd. And we're rounding out with RXR, Johan Kristoffersson.
On board with Timmy Hansen. Just a final couple of adjustments to make. The marshals are still on the grid, so we've got a few moments to go. Tension building for this one. Round 3. Going to do it all again tomorrow, remember. Hopefully minus the fog first thing in the morning, Katie Osborne.
Well, we know for RXR too, we just heard them saying that they may want to, they really do want this win, right? But you think about it from a championship standpoint, they know what just happened with Valache and Acciona Sainz, that this is their time to take some points that are very critical in the big picture of the championship.
Yeah, definitely. They're right up there. They've picked 31 points, so it's not so good on qualifying at round 1 is what hurt them with the championship standings, but so this is a chance to take advantage. I noticed Katie Munnings was jumping up and down a minute ago, just trying to get the adrenaline up. Sometimes you see Timmy Hansen really like thrashing on his thighs and shouting in the car, really getting himself fired up.
I like when they do that.
Yeah, me too. Yeah,
I like you and I do that before we get going. We give each other a high five.
And... Well, we did it. We got a tea. It wasn't quite so spectacular, but we do have a high five. Yeah, we do have a high five. Kristoffersson, as always, fully chill. It's like he waits to just unleash all the energy. You know, no messing around beforehand, no getting switched on. Just waits and just goes. Cans on, lids on, pressure on. Nearly time to go racing here in Scotland.
I do like, one thing I like is the command center. They have the other drivers who are about to hop in those cars have full access to everything. They're seeing it, they're aware of it, they're feeling it. And I think that's really exciting. I just want you guys all to know that Coley is officially stood up. He is ready for this final. If the drivers aren't, Andrew Coley is.
We're fired up. Okay, now we're getting into it. Now we're tightening the belts down. grid marshals leave. 45 seconds to go. We get the counts. Race control gets the counts as well. The drivers will be told. There's McConnell. Now you can see the nerves start to come in. Turn 1 is so important here in Scotland. RJ Anderson with the sunglasses on.
RJ has worn those sunglasses, and I'm curious if it helps him at a place like Scotland.
He's just cool. There we go. That's the Hansen fire up. He's getting on it. Okay, we're waiting for the lights to change here in Scotland. Gonna get our winner of the grand final for round 3 of Extreme E 2023. McConnell on the handbrake, now across to the lights. No chance now for any rest. Got to get the job done in the first couple of 100 metres. Who's going to use that Inoa hyperdrive? Look for the green, there it is. Oh, a lot of wheels been there for RJ Anderson. We've seen 4 cars using Inoa hyperdrive off the line. On the outside line, it's Johan Kristoffersson who's trying to come the entire way round the outside, carry the extra speed through. If he ends up in the water, he might lose time. Goes through there, side race, Andretti United. And look at that, McConnell coming up for X44. He waited for the exit with the Inoa hyperdrive and makes the passes on the run down to that first left-hander. Brilliant tactics. They're coming a bit hot though. Runs high up on the hill. Oh, Andretti out to Keele, having a look up the inside. Timmy Hansen going to pass McConnell. Pushes him out wide. Kristoffersson there to pick up the pieces. Oh, McConnell runs up the bank on the outside. Almost contact with the RXR machine. Finally, the cars are in a line. McConnell looking on the brakes to try and get past. Look like brilliant tactics. Look at that gravel rash all over the top of the car. It's Hansen who leads. Wow. Now that's a start. That's more like it.
That's what we're talking about. And of course, as we're seeing, this is side-by-side battle. Like Coley, we've been talking about the fact that this is not a track where there's a lot of passing. And so when they're going two side-by-sides like that, it really is making it a thrill for these narrow roads.
Oh, and RXR off the side of the road. Johan Kristoffersson. I think I don't know if something broke on the car. He ended up going hard left off the road. There he is on board. He's fine. It's a light roll. Doesn't even look perplexed by it. But RXR are out of this one. Timmy Hansen leads for Andretti Autokilit. In the background, you can see Fraser McConnell with the X44 machine getting chucked around as well. The gaps back then are big. What's going on in the background? I'm trying to see. We know Kristoffersson's off. Christine GZ and RJ Anderson, I've no idea where they are because so much was going on out front. That was an incredible start.
Timmy Hansen with Andretti Autokilit. Like, I don't care. I'm flying. I'm doing this thing. This is mine at this point. But I think one thing to keep in mind, what we did see was what Fraser McConnell did. If you're on the outside like that, or the inside like that, you can wait to use the Inoa hyperdrive, and it can really pay off if done the right way.
It was brilliant. It was a repeat of if you remember, we called it the McConnell line. On board with him now, look, we called it the McConnell line in Saudi Arabia. And they pulled it off again here, but waiting. I'm pretty sure, say 4 cars use it off the line. I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure they waited for the exit, and that was what got the pass. But we'll see in the replay. So the lead,
they had not used it there at the very beginning when everyone else had.
So McConnell just took 3 tenths and another 3 tenths. So Fraser McConnell's taken 3 tenths out of Timmy Hansen between each of the last waypoints.
And we're getting notified that there is an investigation for car 44 and 23.
So that's Andretti Autokilit and Fraser McConnell. So I mean that might be. I've got to be honest, I didn't see anything untoward.
Katie Munnings looks on, knowing what she's up against, knowing the lead that right now that Timmy Hansen's producing for the team, but unfortunately, if there is anything that comes out of that incident, might make an impact.
It might indeed. We've got a slow zone coming up at waypoint 13, so you're going to have to go ultra slow from the top here. I don't know if Timmy's seen it or not. He has, onto the limiter. So what he's glancing across at there, Katie, is the dashboard, which shows him where the slow zone starts. McConnell knows it as well, and that's because the RXR machine is parked just off to the left of the road. Have a look here, and you'll see Kristoffersson's stranded RXR machine over the top of that rocky wall. He's fine. To be honest, I'm kind of surprised there's a slow zone there, but, you know, let's be extra safe, no problem. Yeah, I don't have a problem with it, but with the car off the road. So you have to go through there on your pit lanes. There's a puncture for Anderson. We need to see Anderson's car again. The front right is down on Anderson's car. There it is.
There it is.
So the Hummer EV Chip Ganassi racing machine has a front right puncture. Now they might. How far back are GZ and Scheider?
Well, so that's the car that's been left. If we can get a good image on that, we can probably talk through that a little bit more. But right now we know Kristoffersson is off. Anderson has a puncture, and there's an incident that's involving Hansen and McConnell.
So it's about now. What's wrong with GZ and Scheider and Carl Cox Motorsport? Is that just 20 seconds lost due to mistakes? Because they're nearly 20 back from the Chip Ganassi racing machine, but whether or not the Ganassi squad send the car out with the puncture if they feel that they can hold it off for 2 laps, looks to me like Anderson might have been driving with that for a while. We could see he was struggling, or do they change the wheel as quickly as they can during this switch zone? Remember, only 3 people can go in the switch zone, so they haven't got many extra staff.
Well, let's take a look back at what has actually happened. This was an incredible start, and Coley, this is one that got you more excited than I've seen you in a long time.
Oh, it was brilliant. Look how far back McConnell is at this point. Straightens the car up. And I was to say, I'm pretty... Yeah, look at the difference in speed.
Right
Either that
here.
or it's just exit. But I'm sure it was in Noah hyperdrive. Gets into the whole shot here, but then he comes into the waypoints at the far end. I think it's number 6 here, a little hot. Watch this. Runs up high. So this is the incident that's under investigation because Andretti United got the inside. Okay, it's where he's running deep on the exit. That's what they're not happy about. So then does Fraz then have the RXR machine off? Here it is, on board with Timmy.
Yeah, and as you can see, is this that moment? Is this rubbing his racing, or is this just things got a little too narrow? We've already seen today that people can get squeezed out, but this looks like one of those situations that is... There we go.
Yeah, so to be fair to Timmy, he does not turn out of the corner. He's fully turning into the corner, and he's on the handbrake.
Yep.
So he's desperately trying. I don't know what happened to Christopherson there. Do you?
I mean, too wide. We knew it's a hard place to pass. There was some movement going, and it looked like he hit one of the gravel rocks.
Oh, wow, that was way harder than I thought.
He was so chill.
Oh, he is chill. I mean, that's a lot more chill.
I would not be chill if gravel and rocks were coming at me like that.
Okay, so reset. Leaving the switch zone, Katie Munnings in the Andretti Alta-Keelit.
So they must have changed that tire.
Air jack, I think they're using on that. Timmy Hansen heads back in. Yes, so they've got themselves an air jack device to lift the front of the car. So have they got that done inside? We need to see who's leaving the switch zone now. Katie Munnings, the pressure's on here. They haven't had a good result. Haven't had a decent result for ages. Their last win was...
Believe it or not,
Green? No.
They're running 10th in the championship points. A big surprise for the Andretti Alta-Keelit team as they came into the season with a lot of confidence and now running 10th in championship points. Katie Munnings just wants to get out of here clean. Right now she is far enough ahead of Cristina Gutierrez. As we know that there's an incident that's being checked. But right now, Katie Munnings just wants to finish and get these championship points.
They haven't had a win. I've just checked. I thought it was. It's Greenland Season 1.
Yeah.
So round 3 of Season 1, no wins last year. They've had that shocking luck as well. So, but just to carry that pressure, Katie, is enormous. And Gutierrez is a weapon. She will chase Munnings down. Katie's going to have to get a wriggle on here and keep the pace up like we saw Laia Sanz holding off in that previous run.
You just hope right now that they are far enough ahead that Katie Munnings is going to be holding on.
The gap 7.9 as it stands. It's gone up by a tenth in that last sector. Now she's also 7.5, 4 tenths off. So Gutierrez in the X44 machine is chasing Katie Munnings down in the Andretti Alta-Keelit. Munnings now under pressure. Got to keep up the pace, but also not chuck it off the road.
No, that's exactly right. And I think one of the things you and I were talking about, the fact, is it better to be chased, or is it better to defend, or is it better to attack?
It's always better to chase.
So Katie Munnings right now knows that she's in a defense, right? So don't make any mistakes. Keep it minimal. Finish so you get those championship points and do it cleanly.
Good rhythm, settle in and keep this rhythm. Good job, good job.
There you go, Team Radio, good rhythm, keep it, good job. And she's made, the gap's gone up to 7.9. So at the minute, Munnings is doing a fantastic job of holding on. We know Gutierrez is going to chase her down. It's like earlier on. Do you remember when GZ got passed by Gilmore? Brilliant pass by Gilmore. But as soon as GZ was behind, she could follow Emma because you look at the car in front for braking points. Now, the gap here is bigger. Munnings has a bigger gap over Gutierrez. And none of the cars that remain in the race have used the Anoa hyperdrive on this second lap.
And this is not just about the championship points for Andretti. This is also the fact that they are in such a redemption mode from what happened in rounds 1 and 2.
Car 23 under investigation for a switch zone infringement. No.
Well, okay, but here's the thing. They're far enough ahead.
If it's only a 5 second,
If it's only 5 seconds, which we saw with McLaren earlier today, there's a potential that maybe it's not that bad. But we know that redemption is so strong right now for Hansen and Munnings. Katie's holding on for dear life.
We have had these investigations go the right way as well. And by that I mean, so there we go. Munnings now uses the Anoa hyperdrive on this section of the track. It's actually on the downhill section of the track. So we're seeing it used in a number of different places. 7.4, 7.1. You just see that gap. She's doing a really good job here. And look, Scheider and Sorensen are super close together. There's only a 1/10 of a second between the cars in P3 and P4. In the background, that fight's going on. Look, you can see him back left there.
That close there because
there
we know,
it is.
There it is. We know that punctured. There was a tire issue.
There's an issue with that car. So the Carl Cox machine seems to be in one piece, whereas I would suggest potentially maybe there's a broken shaft, Katie, from that puncture from the first couple of laps. That's a shame for Chip Ganassi Racing. Could be a podium for Carl Cox Motorsport. Here we go, back to the front. Here we go. So Munnings coming up through the right and the left. So we're hearing the switch zone might be for under the 45 seconds. Katie grits her teeth, checks the mirrors. We don't know what the penalty's going to be, or even if the penalty's going to be there. To just hear a little bit on the radio now, they'll be telling her to keep it calm. 6.85, she jumps up over the road. Now one more grass section to go. You're on board with her now. They haven't had a win since Greenland in season 1. Timmy Hansen making that pass on Fraser McConnell. Aggressively up the hill. That was under investigation first of all, but she's going to try and hold on to 5 seconds, see if it's going to be enough. Munnings going to fire the Andretti Altaquila down the hill through the left-hander. They're going to take the checker flag with the investigation still to come, but it is a great drive by Hansen and Munnings to win round 3 of Extreme E. Yes, Katie! Where's her emotion on her sleeve at all times? P2, McConnell and Gutierrez, and wait for it. There's Gutierrez. She tried hard, but couldn't get close enough. And then in the command centre, hugs all around Timmy Hansen and Andretti. They'll wait for the results of the investigation. And here comes Carl Cox Motorsport. They are going to take their first ever podium here in Scotland.
First ever podium in their first ever final. Carl Cox earlier today.
And Carl Cox is here as well. He will be saying, oh yes, in the paddock right now. Go on, Carl. Big party tonight.
What a special moment for them as well. Full circle for coming on strong, knowing that this was a good time for them to be a part of this series and getting a podium. Already in round 3.
P3 for Carl Cox Motorsport. Great result for Christine Giese and Timo Scheider. Oh, Sorensen is still trying to get the Hummer EV back. They've had to fight, haven't they? They did well. I'd love to see their wheel change. We had so much going on in the switch zone because we were looking at replays of that brilliant start. They changed that wheel in record time, I reckon, but they're going to come through for P4 and I think a brilliant job fighting right the way to the end.
Yeah, they did jack that thing up, really get under there to try and make sure they had the proper changes. But hey, how about consistency? How about consistency for the number 99 GMC Hummer EV? Chip Ganassi Racing Machine finished 5th in the last 3 rounds now.
Yeah, so right there, they're amongst it. They're right up there. That'll be good for the championship standings. Munnings has loosened the belts off. The pressure is off. They got the job done on the track. They are on. Penalty. They've been dropped to They've been dropped to P2 according to the timing screens. Gutted. This is why. So it's a tiny bit early. They've been given a time penalty of 15.3 seconds, and after the joy of the victory comes the despair of the penalty. It's Gutierrez and Fraser McConnell who win for X44. I'm gutted for Katie and Timmy. Look, she's gutted. No words.
No words.
There's nothing we can say that you can't see from that picture already. Utter just disappointment and heartbreak. The opposite for these guys, it's X44 who win round 3
Thank you very much, everyone.
Scotland.
I appreciate your help.
Whew. There was a lot. That was a lot, Katie. That's what we say, isn't it?
Here's the thing. From the start of that race, you were up, you were down, you were in your seat, you're up, you were
twice.
down. There was a lot. But you know what? For X44, this is a big moment for them. 4th in round 1, 6th in round 2, now top of the box. We saw some emotion out of Katie Munnings in Saudi Arabia, couldn't hold back those tears, feeling it then. Another round 3 here for her, an emotional, yes, someone would say, you guys, you got on the podium. Well done. But for them, it's not about just the podium. There is so much more.
It's that not having they took that win in Greenland 2 years ago, nearly. I mean, bar a couple of months. And
as the team that has actually been together the whole time,
yes,
too.
Katie and Timmy have been together right from the start. And yeah, look at that. Fraser McConnell. I wonder if, Gutierrez does know. There she is, Christine Gutierrez. He's giving her the universal sign. The Hydro X Prix winners are Fraser McConnell and Christine Gutierrez for X44 Vida Carbon Racing.
Isn't it amazing when you start to follow this series and you know these drivers and you're bummed for Timmy and Katie, but yet you're cheering for Christina and Fraser.
We do our best to remain impartial. You know what?
Man,
my favourite thing about this is getting involved in the emotion of it all, because I think if you're lucky enough to get to commentate a series like this, if you're not emotionally engaged in it, you're not doing it right. I love this sport, and I love going on the roller coaster of emotions with the drivers and the teams, Katie. It's brilliant. I hope you've enjoyed us. Thank you for joining us for your first time in the commentary box. Amazing work,
I'm glad
mate.
to be alongside you here. I'm excited to see the emotions now that these two are going to share.
Stoked.
Getting Fraser in over there.
Oh, that's lovely. Good on you, Katie.
Wow. So dusty, rough. Yeah, very rough. Unbelievable. Well done. Good run.
Oh, that's lovely. So they're saying dusty and rough out there, as you could hear.
And as we could see. Yeah, this is that time. The celebrations, Coley, you and I will never understand what it's like to have the highs and the lows just like this. But you can definitely feel it from these drivers when it does happen.
Oh, yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? When you saw the joy on Katie's face as she crossed the line and the fist pump, you're just like, yes. I mean, 15.3 feels like a lot, but I'll bet you it's probably a standard penalty of 15 plus time gained. I'll have to look up the regulation. So it might literally be that they left 0.3 of a second early, but it's a shocker for them either way.
The takeaway, these double headers.
And they still get P2.
That's
Sorry.
right.
Yeah.
And that builds that confidence for round 4. And a really important thing to note, that they can do it. They can put it all together. The car's in good shape and in good condition. And for tomorrow, round 4, we know that the team will be out swinging.
They will indeed. Well, you know you can pass out on track as well, some mega passes. Well, amazing stuff in the final here. Drama right in the last few seconds as we saw, unfortunately, that penalty. And here are the results of round 3 of Extreme E 2023. P5, a roll for Kristoffersson. Arlen Kotlinski didn't even get in the car. A puncture for Chip Ganassi Racing. A first ever podium for Carl Cox Motorsport. Andretti Autokila took the win and then got a 13-second penalty. That dropped them down to P2. So your winners are McConnell and Gutierrez for X44 Vida Carbon Racing.
And what a day it's been with this Hydro X Prix. Round 3 here in Scotland. Boy, the roller coaster. If any of you out home are feeling the roller coaster, no, you are not alone.
I'm knackered. We've only done one day. This morning, the disappointment, you know, everybody was disappointed. I know you would have been at home if you were watching that when the Q1 got cancelled. But, you know, we've made up for it, I think, this afternoon. Laura Winter is down in the winner's enclosure. Let's see who she's grabbed for us.
Timo, GZ, Timmy and Katie join me now. P3 and P2. Timo, I'll come to you first. A podium, not just your first final, but a podium for Carl Cox Motorsport. Sum it up.
Well, actually, first final for Carl, and the team is amazing already, but we didn't expect a podium, but the final was for sure the aim. And to be here now is a big relief to the guys. They started from scratch, and then right away here, second event, we are on the podium. Fine.
GZ, your emotions?
Yeah, I don't even know what to say. I mean, we kind of came up with a crazy strategy of me against the boys, and I don't know, I just felt like a sandwich in there, but it was amazing.
You've made it work, you're on the podium. Andretti, I don't know what to say, I'm so sorry. Katie, I'll come to you. There's a smile on your face, but I'd imagine inside there is a lot of hurt. Can you try and sum up what's going on at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, I still don't really know, to be honest. I think we got a penalty in the switch somewhere. I mean, Timmy did an amazing job getting the start. We kept a 7-second gap to the end, so I think we did a great job as a team. You know, in the drive, I've got to try and figure out what happened a bit in the penalty, but I think, you know, it's been a while for us to get back to this point. We've had a few unlucky races, so this feels like a win in itself. You know, a marathon, we've crossed the corner, and I think it gives us a lot of confidence and motivation as a team now, so we're super happy.
And Timmy, some really, really hard racing through the start for you. Just talk me through those opening stages.
Yeah, I think I pretty much nailed turn 1 as perfect as I could, but, you know, it's tight from there, from the inside, and Fras must have just got an amazing run, and he came past me on the outside. And but then he ran wide in that water, so they put water down between 6 and 7, and he ran wide, and it was kind of a hard pass, but you know, I made a stick, pulled the gap, and yeah, we did cross the line first. It feels like we win, but after Saudi it was a disaster. I feel like we should celebrate this podium today.
Absolutely, go and enjoy it. Thank you, congratulations, Katie, Timmy.
Not as disappointed as you might. They will be, but they've done exactly what you said, Katie. They've taken the positives from it, and the positives are that Katie held off Gutierrez. Cristina Gutierrez is she's the reigning champion, one of the very fastest drivers in this series. Here we go, Laura's with our winners.
Congratulations, X44 Vita Carbon, Hydro X Prix champion. Sounds pretty good. Fraz, coming to you first. Just heard from Timmy there, the hard racing off the start. Talk me through it.
No, it was, I repeated the move we had in round 1, and I don't think anyone was expecting it. So managed to get to waypoint 16 first, but there was a huge hole that bounced me offline and, opened the door for Timmy. It was hard racing after that, and, they put some water down, so a lot of mud and craziness happening in front of me. I hope Johan is okay. I'm not sure what happened there. But, handed over the car to Cristina in a fighting position, and, it's never over till it's over, and Andretti were unfortunate enough to get a penalty. But we take a win is a win, and go forward in tomorrow with some more momentum. Big up X44. Good fun.
Coley saw it coming. He calls it the McConnell line now. Cristina, for you just had to get the car home. You're putting pressure on Katie there as well.
Yeah, for sure. It was not easy. Fraser gave me a car in a very good position. I tried to fight because after a few seconds I knew that it's under investigation something, and I tried to get close to Katie. It was not easy. Always Katie is very difficult to get close, but finally we finished in a good time, in a good position, and I think thanks to...
There you go. Love it. Guys, I'll let you go to the podium. Enjoy every second. Congratulations, X44, Vita Carbon, Fraser McConnell, Cristina Gutierrez.
I loved what Fraser McConnell had said just there, that anybody can win, right? It's not over till it's over, and that's exactly what happened. It was over, but then it actually wasn't over.
Yeah, they fought for it, didn't they? That is X44's third win. It's Gutierrez's third win, but it's Fraser McConnell's first win in Extreme E. This was how he teed up the start. Look how far back he is, but look how straight the car is on the Innova hyperdrive, and literally drives past everyone up towards those first sectors. He said he hit a hole and ran a bit deep, and I think that's the water that he was mentioning. Can you see it on the track here? You're on board with Timmy Hansen. Watch Timmy's hands here. He goes full left lock, and then he uses the handbrake. You're not going to see it, actually, but he's desperately trying to turn the car in, and Johan's screen is completely...
It just was 2 to 1. You just couldn't get 2 through there.
I think his screen's dirty. I think he's almost been caught out. If you look at his screen, the wipers weren't cleaning it at all, but here's the switch for them.
And then here's the switch for them.
Yeah, shocker.
And they must have looked so confident. We don't know exactly what happened there, but we know that Katie left a little early, and that's what happened.
Yeah, and there's also no further action for the contact between the two cars at the start of the race. Brilliant racing. Let's go down and enjoy the podium.
Carl Cox Motorsport. In second place, Andretti Altequila Extreme E. And our winning team and team principal, X44 Vita Carbon Racing. Please be upstanding for the winning team's national anthem. Please be upstanding for the winning team's national anthem. trophy to Stephanie Travis, Deputy Team Principal of X44 Vida Carbon Racing.
Robert Reed, Richard Burns co-driver, back in the days of WRC, an absolute legend of a man. Down there handing out trophies, Scottish, if you were wondering.
I figured.
And also another rally name for you, Scott, on the bagpipes. Thank you, Scott, for the bagpipes today. Rallies a Peugeot 205 in the Scottish Rally Championship. So I know there's a bunch of volunteers up there as well, marshalling around the circuit and just making sure that everything gets done as it should. Look at that, how fantastic. It's still all big smiles.
I love seeing the smiles. And again, they're taking the momentum. They're going to use that for tomorrow, round 4.
Fraser McConnell's parents there, I know I mentioned it earlier, but how cool for them to be there and witness his first ever win in Extreme E. So I think the special Jamaican sauce might be out tonight. They got a whole other day tomorrow, but yeah.
The Jamaican sauce is something special.
They know how to party, yeah. They know how to party. Your winners of the Hydra X Prix, look. Christina Gutierrez and Fraser McConnell. Look at McConnell admiring his first Extreme E trophy. They're, I think they're 3D printed using recycled plastics. It's very clever stuff. And the champagne as well. What a great day. From the fog this morning and the cancellations right through to some outrageous racing, to be fair.
Wow, that girl is good with that bottle. That was a move. She went for it. And that's what this is all about. This is what they woke up early for. We sat through the fog. It was to enjoy these moments. It's to get those laughs. It's to have those smiles. Christina Gutierrez, you can see her up there. Fraser McConnell, this looks more fun than some of the other stuff that even happened today.
Yeah, it does. It does. They might be having a little swig. Yeah, there we go. The driver. Oh, okay, yeah. So just a little swig. Lovely to see as well, so many nationalities up there. Yeah, Jamaica, the UK, a home. It was nearly a home win for Katie Mullins, but it's a home podium. She gets to go again tomorrow. Spain for Gutierrez.
German,
yeah, and for Christine GZ, German for Timo Scheider, fantastic. Sweden for Timmy Hansen. We got a great mix of nationalities and characters in this series, and yeah, I'm loving following it.
You know what's really special about this too is it's such a bonding series, right? They're there, they're making good, they're making a difference. They're on these adventures together. All of these competitors all week long before are in building for one common goal, and racing for a purpose is it. And I think that is something that when they're on the podium, when they're celebrating, it's really with their friends too.
I think you're right, because I think most of these series, you turn up, you do your track walk, you get onto your strategy, and you don't really necessarily spend much time with the others. But the time they're spending together is not competitive time. As you said rightly, Katie, it's doing something else, and that builds a bit of friendship. Don't get me wrong, in turn 1, I'll still bang you off on the outside. You know, like they were literally.
Yeah,
you're going to get contact. Yeah, I'm sure there'll be some words said, but great to see. Fantastic.
It is neat to see the celebrations come together. Fraser McConnell here, you can see going back up to the podium where he's now going to feel extremely comfortable as he and Christina Gutierrez took the win. Another big moment for these championship points. We knew that X44 needed that little extra TLC.
Acciona Sainz leading on 56, look, by 4 points from Veloce, and that's despite not making it through to the final today. X44 Vida Carbon Racing have massively closed the gap down, so have RXR. So what we've got after round 3 is 4 teams within a shout at the top of the standings, although RXR, of course, ended today upside down. Remember, that team could have significant work to do overnight. If the roll cage is damn in Katie, they might have to go and use the championship car, so work for them to do. Let's hope we can see them tomorrow, but also Abt Cooper at XE, who had just a shocker of a day.
One thing to note is Andretti Altequila jumped from 10th all the way up to 7th, and that was something that was a huge moment for them with these championship points.
Selfies on the podium. That's what it's all about, isn't it? Got to get your selfie game on there. Look, the whole team's up there with Fraser McConnell and Christina Gutierrez. Awesome stuff. What a day, eh, for round 3. Well, amazing stuff. Q1 got fogged off. That wasn't ideal. We've never lost a session, and my goodness me, we've had some issues. We've had dust and rain and snow and all sorts over these last 3 seasons with Extreme E, and we lost the session this morning. But It made up for it this afternoon, didn't it?
Oh man, to see you up, down, upside down, all around, it was such a treat to be a part of, and the racing didn't disappoint. There are going to be teams that are going to be working overtime tonight, trying to make sure that these cars are in good shape for round 4 that's going to kick off tomorrow.
Thank you for coming over the Atlantic and joining us. I can tell with a big smiley face you've had a great time. First time in the booth, and you smashed it, mate. Well done.
Thank you. Thanks for all of your insights, and the guys out there out there in Scotland. Thank you for making the racing enjoyable. Thank you for what you've done to really bring this thing to life from Scotland. This is one of those events. We've had rolls, we've had bundles, we've had joy, we've had disappointment, and there's been a whole lot of dust along the way. For Laura Winter, who's out there on the grounds, for Andrew Coley, who's been beside me, a great teacher, I'm Katie Osborne. Join us tomorrow, same time, same place.
Trying to come the entire way round the outside. Timmy Hansen going to pass McConnell, pushes him out wide. Oh, and RXR off the side of the road. You're in Christopherson. It's X44 who win round 3.
Hyperdrive now.